Advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
And welcome everyone to another episode of He Said, She Said. I am your host for the evening, Aggie, and with me is our awesome co-host, Rick. I guess I can just move you up to co-host now. You're not just producer.
It's been, almost a year since I took this one over?
Yes, I know.
Hey, can you do a show for Mickey for a couple of weeks while he's on break? Sure. Kind of feel like this was the 2 weeks since the spread thing all over again.
1 year later.
1 year later. All right. Anyway, how you doing, Miss Aggie? How are you?
I'm doing okay. I had a really great morning. You know, it was nice and rainy outside, and everything was quiet. And I could not believe it, but I actually went back to bed after I woke up. I was like, man, I feel so lazy. But in my defense, I had a bout of insomnia last night, so I didn't sleep very well. So I didn't feel bad going back to bed for a while. But you know, after that, I got up and I got some housework done. I got to talk to my sister who's in Germany. So you know, it's funny. It's her afternoon and it's my morning, and she's telling me about everything that's going on over there. And right now, her biggest lamentation is the fact that she misses air conditioning. And I was like, you've literally lived in Italy before, and you know that most Europeans don't have air conditioning. And she says, yes, but I'm older now and I need it in my life. So she went out and bought 3 units for their house. You know, they kind of stand alone and you kind of put it out the window and everything, and it cools the whole house. So she was telling me all about that and how wonderful it was to have air conditioning again. And I'm like, you know, it's the little things. She's missing out on being over here, and she's over there for the next 2 years. And so I had to give it to her. I did.
Well, you know, I mean, what are you going to do? But yeah, it's just, so I guess just chalk it up to my sheltered lifestyle. But I had no idea that most Europeans did not have air conditioning. I would not recommend.
It was really interesting when I lived over there in Germany. Nobody had air conditioning. Now the main stores did, obviously, but as a rule, most residences didn't have any air conditioning because it wasn't really needed. The climate was cool most of the time. I remember one time I was really upset. I was shopping. I came back. I just slammed the door shut, and I was in my jacket and I said, I can't wait for summer. And I look at the calendar, said June 2nd. I cried that day because it was still like 58 degrees outside. So it's really not necessary. But you know, we go through climatic cycles, and right now they're going through a warmer than usual cycle, and so they're all complaining over there. And you've seen how people in Great Britain are going insane over 78 degrees Fahrenheit, jumping into public fountains, and they're jumping in rivers to cool off and all this stuff. And I'm going, it's 78 degrees. I'm literally in a long sleeve shirt at 78 degrees.
Well, I mean, to be fair, they use centigrade, so that sounds a lot hotter.
Oh, whatever.
Well, I mean, it's like that here. So, I mean, like when I was a kid, the first time it ever got up to like 90 when I was living in Seattle, everybody was like literally starting, well, I guess actually, let me use the right word, starting to pass out because it was so hot. And I'm like, dude, this is nothing. And we're like,
I know. I was there during 2003 when they had a really bad heat wave, and I think the official death count for France was over 10,000 that died from the heat wave, and it was a lot hotter than it is right now over there, as in at least by about 12 or 15 degrees Fahrenheit. It was that much hotter because when I got there, I was like, ooh, Texas. And I thought that was the norm until my German neighbor told me, no, this is very hot for this area. And of course it was, because that was the only summer I enjoyed. The rest of the summers I was there for were all cold and foggy. I remember one year I spent literally 8 months shoveling snow. So I was like so done with living there. I cannot even express to you how done I was.
wait, I need to back up and process this sentence. Did you say you spent one summer shoveling snow?
No. That was the only summer that I enjoyed, was the one with the heat wave. The others were very cool. Like I said, I was wearing jackets. I wore jackets almost the entire year because it was that cool. But one year I shoveled snow for about 8 months. So
Ugh,
it was
that's
like
too
a
much damn white
constant,
stuff.
and it was one year to the next, obviously. The snow actually started late August and it did not let up until May. So it was awful because my husband had surgery both in his arm, in his shoulder, and then he had surgery in his ankle. So he could not shovel any of it. So I was the one shoveling. And I was like so sick of it. If I never see snow again, it will not be too soon. But of course, now what do? I moved to North Texas, where it actually does snow every winter, but doesn't stick around for very long. So that's a good thing. So yeah, that was my life. And how are you?
Busy. The last few weeks have been insane, and I finally tapped out today and took an afternoon off and took a nap, or tried to anyway. I have a puppy too, which is not helping because puppy's still learning to be housebroken. So puppy still gets me up about 4 times a night needing to go outside, and I'm like, ugh. So yeah, in between the heavier workload because of all the weird news cycles and still trying to potty train a puppy, I'm exhausted. I think this may be my new destination for a while, because I'm just like, ugh. But I mean, not that we're going to talk about that this much on this show, but I think one of the things that has me like the most exhausted is the switch that has been flipped from the second that Biden left the race. I really expected a lot more Democrats to be mad about what has been done to them, and they're just not. And it does not make me very hopeful for our future when they can just do whatever the hell they want to do and nobody seems to care. But
Well,
the people on the other side that are like, hey, do you realize what they just did? It's okay because now we're gonna win.
Yeah, it's all about the means to the end, and the end means victory for them and complete eradication of the other side. As far as politics goes, I don't mean that they want to kill us all off. There are some people that do. Obviously, we've seen it all. We've seen the posts, we've seen the tweets, we've seen the Facebook messages, the statuses and all that stuff. But I was not as surprised as you were. I was just like, yeah, this is the culmination of about 50 years of indoctrinating people into that kind of mindset. So it's going to take a long time to reverse that, but I'm hopeful that it can be reversed.
Well, I mean, honestly, I thought this might have been the year that we might have managed to do that, and now I'm just kind of wondering, because like I said, I mean, these people riot over everything. and now they're just like, oh, we have Kamala now. We're gonna win. Who cares about anything else? Like, have you listened to the things that she says she wants to do? Anyway,
I don't know. I don't think they do. They just, I mean, seriously, they just say, I'm voting for the black woman. And I'm like, who else is in the race? Please point me out, pointer, because I don't see one. I got in trouble with that. I got in trouble with that over on my family group page. One of my many cousins, who happens to be this very, he's a feminist, for lack of a better term. But anyway, he was saying that it's about time that we need, you know, I'm voting for her, and I'm thinking to myself, your vote doesn't count, but whatever makes you sleep at night. And he says that he's going to vote for her because she's a black woman, and it's about time that we had a woman in charge, and you know, and we need to have the diversity representing us, and blah blah blah. And I'm like, so I wrote, a black woman? Who else is running? I don't see one. He got mad. He got mad, but I could tell that some of my cousins were laughing because they were giving me the laughing emojis.
it's probably a good thing I'm not in that chat.
No, this is, you know, I tweak I
it's your
tweak people's noses in that chat, in you know, in that family Facebook group, because it makes my dad happy. I'm just glad my mom doesn't see it, because she's like, oh, how could you say that to so and so? You have better manners. And I'm like, not really.
I used to. Now I crossed the bridge of no fucks.
If my mom, if I'm in a group with my mother, oh man, no, I am like, I'm very well behaved. And if I have nothing nice to say, I just don't say anything. So I mind my manners if my mom's in the same group or in the same you know, thread that I'm on or whatever. But as far as this one, it's just the cousin. So my dad is in it, but everybody forgot because my dad never says anything. So, but yeah, my mom's not in there, thank God. Anyway.
So one interesting thing has happened, and I guess I didn't realize that once you get past a certain point to see your exact number of followers, you have to kind of mouse over it now. But I actually have sufficiently crossed the 10,000 mark now, where unless there's some sort of a purge, I think I'm going to stay there, which I was kind of worried about for a while. I'm officially at like 10,032 now.
Yay! You did it!
I didn't think that was ever going to happen. I'm not even going to lie. The weirdest thing is, since we started streaming on X, I'm up almost 600 followers. So kind of wishing we would have started doing this a little earlier.
Yeah, it would have been cool, but you know, at least we're doing it. I just think it's kind of funny that I'm like, I see I'll get like 6 followers after my good morning post or whatever. And every so often I'm like, how the hell did I get 29,000? Who are you people? Why do you even bother following me?
I'm telling you.
Do anything.
Because you're bubbly.
But I honestly, what do? I throw a tweet in the morning. I sometimes retweet your stuff and other people's stuff that I find interesting and I feel should be put out there for more people to read. And, but you know, my commentary is not that great. It really isn't. So anyway,
so believe it or not, the topic we brought up a second ago actually does kind of lean into what we're going to be talking about tonight, because the interesting thing is Kamala was less popular than herpes like 4 days ago, and now she's a rock star because they rebrand everything to suit whatever the Roman is, and now they're trying it with her. So yay, fun times. Now even though she's always worn the blazers and the pantsuits and everything else, now they're talking about how smart they are and how it makes her look like she's together and strong and ready to work. And I'm like, that's how she's always.
And this is she's always dressed that way. And I remember when like the first week after the inauguration, she's, you know, there somebody is interviewing her or something, and all of the reporter is talking about how she comes in wearing these beautiful heeled shoes and, you know, this nicely tailored suit and blah 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 and all that stuff. And I'm like, would you say this shit if the vice president were male? No. You're basically reducing her to her personal clothing style. And I'm like, why? I thought you wanted us to be aware that this woman is competent. Instead, you've reduced her to a Barbie. And I got a lot of heat for that comment from people who are very supportive of Harris. And I'm like, y'all, I'm on your side on this, and you don't see it because obviously I'm criticizing the fact that she's being reduced to a suit and a pair of heels. And you know, it didn't matter. The fact that it was somebody, they went over to my TL and scrolled through, oh, she's definitely right wing, so let's attack her. Even though what I was saying was that the reporter was not treating Harris with respect, you know, in condition to her new title, the office that she holds. They went after me for it, and I'm like, fine. This is how it's gotten. It doesn't matter. It's okay to reduce her to her clothing rather than substance because she has a D after her name. Okay, then we'll play that game. So, and now that we play that game, they get mad at us. I'm like, those were your rules. 1 week into the term, those were your rules. But you know, yeah, and it's true. She's, you know, they're talking about how the jacket is her brand and all this stuff and everything, and I'm like, no, that's like saying the suit is Biden's brand or the suit is, you know, Joe Blow from Wall Street's brand or whatever. It doesn't. It's not a brand. Now, if she were wearing a jacket with a bunch of question marks on it, that would be a brand. But it isn't.
The way she laughs, it would be fitting. Oh, wait, my bad.
I was just remembering that guy, you know, in the infomercials late at night that wore the green jacket with the question marks all over it. I forgot what he was hawking. It was some book. Oh, it was the book about how to ask for all the freebies in government or whatever. I should have bought it. But, you know, that would be a brand. The fact that she's wearing a camel colored suit on Tuesday, no, that's not a brand. That's what she wears. She's been doing this for decades. But yeah, you're right. They're trying to make that into a brand. I would not be surprised if one of the ads or campaign flyers or posters had the suit top and her hairdo, and that would be it, because that's what they're going for. They're trying to brand that right now. So I would not be surprised to see that, even though she's been wearing the same type of clothing for decades.
Well, I mean, it's just like, and like I said, 5 minutes ago, nobody liked her. Her ratings were worse than Biden's. And now all of a sudden that the media has been artificially pumping her up, everybody's falling. Well, supposedly everybody's falling in love with her now. And like I said, the thing that concerns me isn't the media push. It's the fact that I've heard almost nobody from the left talking about the fact that 14.5 million votes were just wiped out on a whim. And they're just gone. And now they're doing this virtual convention before the convention to make sure she's actually ratified before she ever even gets there.
I have seen some people complaining about it, but they're not the ones gaining the ear or the traction. As a matter of fact, sometimes they're hidden, sometimes they're hounded to the point where they delete their tweet or you know, to that point. But most of this, you know, we're good with what's happening and all that stuff. Most of it is not organic at all. And that's what we should be attacking, is the fact that none of this is organic.
Well, I mean, speaking of organic things, did you see the staged phone call today that's been going around everywhere?
No, I have not.
The Barack and Michelle endorsement.
I heard about it.
Well, Kamala, conveniently enough, has a camera crew during this phone call. She has a microphone on, and she has them on speaker, but she's pretending they're not on speaker because she keeps holding the phone up to her ear. And it was one of the most disingenuous things I've ever heard in my life from everybody, because Obama's not happy. He's the only reason he wound up coming out and saying this was because of all the behind the scenes maneuvering that Harris did in the last few days. She got Biden to endorse her first. And even Biden said he wasn't going to at first. She got the Clintons to endorse her. Hillary did it specifically to get back at Barack for beating him in 2008. So everybody knows why that happened.
It was very catty.
But that started painting him into a corner. So now him and Michelle have had to come out and say, "Oh yeah, we endorse you." And she's like, "Oh, all your kind words over the years and everything have been such an inspiration." Blah 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 blah. And then they showed almost the exact same thing. The morning after they figured out that they had won the election, she's in a jogging suit, like it's all casual, on the phone, supposedly talking to Joe Biden. "Oh, we did it, Joe. You're going to be the next president of the United States." And I'm like, this is such staged bullshit. I don't know why everybody.
It's all staged. And this is why, the phone call is staged, because notice it's not a public thing. Hell, I'm at the point where I'm wondering if it was AI generated phone calls.
It could be,
because there was no proof. I didn't see him come on the stage saying, that we need to, get behind Harris, and blah blah blah. I didn't see that. It was a phone call that I heard of, and I'm wondering, it's like, well, was it him? He may have condoned it, but he may not want to take the step of doing it. You know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, that's a bridge too far for me. But if you want to fake my voice, go ahead. But I'm not doing it. I would be that petty. But that's just me.
Well, the scary thing is the AI voice generation has gotten nuts. I mean, it literally has.
There was a beautiful one that Elon Musk put up of Harris.
Yeah.
And oh my word, I was in tears. I was laughing so hard at it. And I'm like, this is so dangerous. This is funny, but it's so dangerous. It really is. I understand that it has certain applications, like the Democrat Congress woman who has a cognitive disease that prevents her from speaking, but AI is now helping her to speak, and it sounds just like her. And she was overjoyed about that. This is her last term. She is retiring. She's going to serve out the rest of her term, but she's not running again because of this disease. But until then, she wanted to be able to at least express herself, and they came up with this idea of using AI of her voice, and so she can type in and it'll be her speaking. And it was amazing to see. She was overjoyed about it, and all I could think of was, this is one hell of a Pandora's box that we just opened. But I'm not a fan of AI. I'm just not. I hate it. I think there are too many problems with it, and there's too many ways that it could be used for nefarious purposes. That said, it does have some good uses, as is in this case with the Congresswoman. But when I heard that, I was I was in tears. I was crying. I had to go back and wash my face again, and then reapply all of my beauty stuff because I had cried it off. It was really well done. But like I said, that is dangerous. Anybody who didn't know that was AI would think it was her.
Yeah, I mean, there used to be like awkward, like Shatner, like pauses and stuff. Those have started
Mhm.
going away, so it is getting harder and harder to tell.
Yeah, it is. But anyway, yeah, going back to the original, since we tend to ramble on. Yeah, she's
Us, right?
undergoing this.
Oh,
Oh
sure.
yeah, never. She's undergoing a rebrand of sorts, and then in political rebranding is usually very smooth and very easily done. You just take the good qualities, the Wong Fu qualities, and for those of you not familiar, one of my favorite movies is To Wong Fu, Thanks for Everything, Julie Newmar. And they're trying to come up with an idea for the Strawberry Festival, but they need a theme. And Wesley Snipes' character, Noxima, um, asks them to describe, strawberries. And he says, well, they're red and they're wild. I said, well, there's your theme. And that's how political rebranding is done. You take certain qualities from that particular um, politician and you build those qualities, which is why I told you I would not be surprised if a poster was just the jacket with her hairstyle, and that's it. No face, nothing else, and go from there. And that would be very sharp. That would be very very clean type of rebranding. I remember when the Democrats rebranded their Jackass. It was it looked like it was kicking up from the hindquarters were kicking up, and it was very well done. It was a really good rebrand. The right has yet to do something that nice, but of course we have an elephant. What do elephants do? They're the largest swimmers. That's about it. So
And they have
really
long
can't-
memories.
yes, but that was a
And they're
really good.
pregnant for 2 years. I'm glad. First, I'm glad I'm not female. Second, I'm really glad I'm not an elephant because that's a long fucking time to carry a baby.
But it was that was a really sharp rebrand, and it was really well done. I have to give them kudos because that was really well done. Well, another one was the Obama brand, which was the O with the sunrise and all that stuff. And I'm looking at it going, that one wasn't as successful. I mean, it made an impact, but a lot of people were like, okay, why? And then Pepsi decides to rebrand and it looks like the Obama brand. And so there was some confusion for a while, wondering, why is Pepsi doing this?
Pepsi, favorite drink.
It was kind of weird. It really was. And I was like, you guys are trying too hard. You can do better. But the Obama brand itself, it was good. Don't get me wrong. It was good. But in my opinion, it was a little muddled with the whole sunrise and then the O and blah, 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 and all that stuff. But it was effective. And so now a lot of people make fun of President Trump's hair. And I'm like, this is the best opportunity. This is such a good brand. And they did. They ran with it. They ran with the whole hair thing, for in 2016. And it worked. And I actually had to laugh because when you looked at where the Republican convention took place this week, it actually looked like it had Donald Trump's hairstyle. The outside had that look. And I was just like, that has to be a coincidence, or maybe I'm just seeing it. But everybody remarked on it. It's like, that looks like Donald Trump's hair. And that's a good, effective brand. He's the only one that has that hairstyle. And I hear a lot of people complaining, he should get a cut, he should get it restyled. And I'm like, absolutely not. The guy is going to be 80 and he can have whatever damn well hairstyle he wants. But the thing is, everybody knows him by that hairstyle. If he were to change it now, it would literally kill his brand. It really would. So that's in like I said, like in politics, you want your brand to be nice, clean, very very sharp, but very diminutive. You don't want to do too much, but you want it to stand out, which is why, the kick-ass was actually really, really well done.
No, I mean, and well, yeah, normally they are, and it's just I don't know how long this one's gonna hold because, I mean, I get the media fawning all over her. I will agree with your other co-host who just put out a tweet earlier today that this fawning is getting rather tiresome. It's honestly part of the reason why I decided to take an afternoon off because I had a feeling I was just gonna be screaming for 2 hours.
Yeah, well, no, and you're right. I don't think
my voice. Anyway,
I don't think this particular branding is going to work with Harris. And the problem is that behind every branding, you have to have a substance. There's got to be a substance. And with Donald Trump's hair, that is what everybody identifies him with. And, he took it running, but it is part of him. I cannot say the same thing for the suits, because he did try to brand the suit with the red tie. That was, and everybody knows that, but he's not the only one that does it. So clothing wise, it's very difficult to achieve a brand. You're not Hulk Hogan. You're not, I can't even say his name. You're not the guy that does the Speedo commercials. You're not him. Okay, so it's just not going to work. Clothing wise is very tricky.
Why did we have to mention Speedos? Now I'm traumatized again. You remember my childhood? I've told you this story. My dad used to run around in a Speedo all the time.
I'm sorry.
Although Steven made a great point in the chat that I just got. Elephants are actually really, really good at communication. Republicans, not so much.
Not so much. No, not so much. But yeah, that's, as far as politics, when you are rebranding somebody, whatever you want to rebrand them with, it has to be something that's uniquely theirs. And clothing normally isn't it. So we'll see what happens. I mean, if you rebrand her with her hairstyle, well, almost every woman in the world has that hairstyle, but I cannot say the same thing about Trump's hairstyle. You see what I mean? So,
yeah.
Speaking
of Trump's hairstyle, did you notice the shot that somebody took of the convention center in Wisconsin from the angle that they took the picture at, and it literally looked like Trump's hair was over the top of the building?
That's what I was talking about.
So I wasn't sure if you were talking about the same thing, so I just wanted to make sure because I thought maybe I'd missed something. But that was
no. It was the outside facade of it. It looked like Trump's hairdo.
Yeah, I still want to get to know the guy who took that picture because I want that kind of eye, bro.
It was really well done, and I was like, holy shit! Only Trump would actually get the nomination in a building that has his hairdo.
Speaking of which, we're currently starting to show up on Live on X. So if anybody hasn't yet, if you could pump us out a little more, that would be great. Thank you. Just asking. You don't actually have to do it, but please and thank you.
So there have been some really successful rebrands lately in the past few years that we're all familiar with. We're all currently on one, as a matter of fact. When Elon Musk bought Twitter, he rebranded it.
I would not call that one successful, but keep going.
Well, no, but he's sticking with it, and it's starting to take hold. And I knew it was going to take a long time because Twitter itself became a I guess a household brand the way Kleenex and Coke are, because every soda is a Coke, every tissue is a Kleenex, and so every post is like, oh, he tweeted something out, even though you're using Instagram or using something else, people were calling it a tweet. So it's something that will be very difficult to overcome, but it was a rebranding of sorts. And now, because it is Elon Musk's, everybody has to accept the fact that it is an X. He's got this thing for X. And so I see where this rebranding is starting to now go up. You had the Facebook one, which was a rebrand to Meta to, I guess, to incorporate all the different things under the Facebook umbrella into one. I don't consider that a true rebranding because it's still called Facebook. It's not called Meta. So for me, that is on the weaker side of rebranding as far as your business model goes. I could be wrong, but
no, you're not. That was actually probably, and I know why they did what they did. It's because they tried to make this big push into their AI thing, which they called Meta. So they thought by putting everything under the Meta umbrella, it would help it take hold more. And then almost nobody used the Facebook AI stuff, or not, and virtual reality stuff. So because it
No, you're right. And when it comes to social media, rebranding is very difficult because when you establish a particular social media, you want people to use the title, the name of it, as often as possible. So when it comes to rebranding social media, that's very tricky, and it's very difficult to do, which is why I would put X on the successful side, but Meta on the unsuccessful side. So that's my definition. That's my bar.
Well, no, I mean,
but outside of that,
sorry, go ahead, keep going.
No. This is different. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say Musk has made some interesting moves with X, like the ability to put content straight into the platform now. Like you can actually post articles directly there. Like since we've been having website issues, our entire catalog has been going out over there. And one of the things that I noticed most is during the shooting, X is where everybody was going to get the news.
Yes, I did notice that too. There was the flow of information on X is far faster than the flow of information even on TikTok. And I would think TikTok is fast. I don't use it and I seldom watch anything from it, but I can see where TikTok would be one to use for the gathering of information. The Chinese do it, so why not, right?
I mean, it's like almost everywhere on the mainstream was, well, we think he's been shot, or and then the worst ones were like the entire like in the bag for the left periodicals that were like, oh my God, Trump trims and falls on stage and is rushed off after possible emergency. I'm like, are you kidding me or no?
Yeah, it was really trippy. It was really trippy the way that played out. But yeah, everybody was coming to X to get the up to the minute information on that.
I mean,
and
we spun up here. I think it was, of course, the Saturday I decided to take a nap. The world tries to end. So I'm waking up to the DM group going nuts. Going, oh my God. Should we do our show about this later? Should we do it now? And I'm like, give me 10 minutes. We can be on the air. And we spun up, I think it was around 6:00 and ran for forever. And even our little station had like over 1,400 people tuned in by the time it was done. And we were by no means the bigger of the crew that night, but it was still, I mean, that's where everybody was coming, because the mainstream folks either weren't talking about it, weren't giving much information, or were afraid to say anything. We're just looking at all the stuff going, yeah, no, he was shot. I mean, that's like the other day, with the FBI director. We're not sure if he was actually hit by a bullet, shrapnel, or a bullet fragment. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Something hit him.
This is a tactic that left uses a lot to minimize something and make it seem very, very inconsequential. I'm like, bullets were still involved. One man died, 2 others were seriously injured. Bullets were still involved. You cannot escape that. This was an assassin. doesn't matter what he got hit by. He still got hit by something. It was an assassination attempt.
Now even the FBI, not giving any name sources is like, yes, we can confirm he was actually hit by a bullet or a bullet fragment. We don't know which one, but it was definitely a bullet. And I'm like, so is anybody going to make the director of the FBI retract his statement? But I mean, believe it or not, this goes into exactly what we're talking about. This is a rebranding of an event in real time and trying to gaslight the American people. That's what we've been watching ever since the shooting. For years with Biden. Is they've tried to reframe everything.
Technically, rebranding is pretty much gaslighting to an extent. Sometimes it's just for a better extent rather than a bad extent, like in this case. But like for example, some rebrands that for businesses that I have seen that were successful, like Dunkin' Donuts dropped donuts, so now it's just Dunkin', because they carry other things other than donuts. The same thing with Domino's Pizza, they drop pizza. It's just Domino's because they carry other things rather than just pizza. The one that I'm looking at and I'm kind of watching is Victoria's Secret. I'm not sure if a lot of people are aware. I used to work for the company back in the 80s, and Victoria's Secret was actually one of the stores that was under the Limited umbrella. So the Limited had several different stores. They had the Limited, they had the Limited 2, they had Express, they had Victoria's Secret, they had, it was just, they had Bath and Body Works. They had a lot, okay? But like almost every company that does something like this, they got too big. And so they had to sell off each section, one by one. And so they sold off Victoria's Secret. And Victoria's Secret was a really good brand back in the 80s. You walked into the store, the music was very soothing. It was all classical music. Everything was decorated with roses. You felt like you were in a high-end boutique, and you were pretty much in one because you were paying a lot of money for underwear. But the salespeople were all dressed very professionally. We were required to wear, pantyhose and skirts and jackets and heels. And we were very professional people. And when somebody came in, we helped them. And, it was really nice. When it was sold off, the rebrand, they kept the name, but they did away with the romantic aspect in favor of the sexual aspect. So the music was more in keeping with current stuff, and everything was lightened up, and posters of scantily clad women everywhere. And so there was a shift, but it wasn't a bad shift as far as business goes. Now they have, the pink store is part of their thing, and they have another one that's also part of their thing, and they're rebranding again. So they're going from Victoria's Secret, which we all know she was a slut, and now it's going to be VS Collective. And in my opinion, that kind of rebranding, it goes back to the Limited, where Limited was the main, corporate, and then all of these other stores were under their umbrella, and now they're going to be the same as Limited, VS Collective, and then all these things will be under their umbrella because they want to be more inclusive and generate the brand towards everyone. Read into that what you will, but we all know what happened when they did away with the scantily clad beautiful models on the catwalk in favor of women of different sizes, and that did not go over very well. And so, but they're still on that bandwagon, which is why they're now going to be VS Collective. And so, in my opinion, you're going from a sharp, definitive brand to a very nebulous one. I don't think it's going to work, but you know, nobody's asking my opinion on it. If Victoria's Secret were to go back to its roots, they would probably make a killing. I know so many women, younger than me, by the way, that are like, yeah, it's just so cheesy, and so it doesn't. They're moving away from that because what they grew up with as Victoria's Secret, which was the second branding, it's not that anymore. It's now generic, unisex, and not romantic, and not lacy, and not pretty. So they're kind of disappointed. But that's the dangers of rebranding. When you're trying to make the umbrella really big, it's going to be very, very difficult to define the borders. So, but that's business rebranding. There are other kinds of rebranding that drive me absolutely apeshit. I cannot express enough.
Oh, come on. It's not that bad.
Oh, yes, it is. I mean, the one thing that has driven me absolutely crazy is this new quote unquote core thing. Okay. Have you seen that?
The what?
Core, CORE, core. So I'll give you an example. The example that drives me up the fucking wall. Yeah, I said the F word. It drives me crazy. You remember back in the 80s when the country style was really in, thanks to Laura Ingalls Wilder. We got the prairie skirts and the prairie shirts and all that stuff. And the country style was, people started, hey, this is what my grandma had. And, the mason jars and the butter churn and, all of the little duck plates and the duck on the glasses and, that kind of stuff was really big in the 80s. And it was called country style. And for a time, it kind of fell out of favor, and then it kind of came back, and it was called grandma chic, but that didn't last very long because thanks to the efforts of Laura Ashley, it came back. Laura Ashley was very famous for the Schintz florals, which were very popular back in the, turn of last century. And so, with that, and gunny sacks, that was a big one. The gunny sacks dress was the thing to own back in the 80s and 90s. I mean, I owned one, and I saved for 2 years to buy a gunny sacks dress. I'm not even joking. I had to have a dress. I think I still have it at my parents' house. But, that was, that became the grandma chic, for a while in the 90s and whatever. And then it kind of fell out of favor again. And then Joanna Gaines came in, and it became known as farmhouse, the farmhouse style, where, things were mostly the whites, and they were distressed furniture finishes, and there was a lot of rustic stuff. There was a lot of rust use. There was, a lot of old paint, chippy paint, that kind of stuff. And now it's no longer called farmhouse. It's called cottage core. And it drives me crazy because everybody's adding core to whatever they want, like Barbie core. Oh, these nails, they're the perfect pink for my Barbie core. And I'm like, what? Just say style. And it drives me crazy when they use the word core because it makes no sense.
Yeah, no, I don't guess I've ever noticed that because, it would probably drive me just as nuts if I had.
No, it is called cottage core. My sister, God love her, she is a DIY expert. She has a very large following on social media. And she's She's awesome. And she has figured out, and this happens to a lot of us. We go through stages where, we're trying to define what our interior design aesthetic is. And so she finally fell into what she really likes, and she calls it cottagecore. And I had to restrain myself because I did not want to upset her. I did not want to say something mean, but I was just going to say, so country. But I was not going to go down that road because I love her and I didn't want her mad at me. But that's the kind of rebrand that happens when a new generation comes around, and you take something old, you rebrand it in so that the new generation can appreciate it. And so the new generation appreciates it with the term core, And so that's why my sister referred to it as cottagecore, because she is trying to reach to that generation, trying to gather more subscribers, more people to go to her channels and stuff like that. So I can understand why she called it that. But, if I were to go up to somebody in her 20s and say, I really, the country chic, the grandma chic, I really enjoyed that when I was younger, they would look at me like I had sprouted another head. They would not know what I was talking about. But if I say cottagecore, they'll know. and I've seen it. And I've seen it at Hobby Lobby, where a young girl, she was getting stuff to decorate her dorm room, and her mom is there with the cart, and she's like, well, what are you looking for? What kind of stuff do you want in there? She says, I want cottagecore. I want it to look, very clean and stylized, but very, very cottagecore. And this was a girl that was she's 18. So, it was her freshman year. She needs all the new stuff to go to her dorm room and whatnot. And I was just like, wow, that's what gave me the idea about doing the show on rebranding, because I heard that and I was just like, they really do use that term. It's not the old fogies that are using the term, it's the young people that are using that term. And it's just a way to incentivize people to look at an old brand in a different way, in a new light. I mean, that's the whole purpose of Dunkin', dropping the donuts. We don't just do donuts anymore. Come on in. We do all sorts of hip, young things, So you have that.
No,
I mean,
no,
you've seen
the real reason they dropped donuts is because they started baking them and they sucked.
Oh, really? Oh, that's too bad. I do Shipley donuts, so yeah, no big deal. But terminology changes as well. That's part of rebranding. And you have the term spokesperson. In certain circles, it's not called a spokesperson, especially when you have a spokesperson for an item sold in stores, such as paint or drills or couches or whatever. They are now brand ambassadors. That's the new term. It is a lot to say rather than just spokesperson. You say brand ambassador, but it sounds
Kevin,
very.
Put up Kevin in the chat. Marine wardrobe equals core.
Actually, there is military core. I am not even kidding. It's not Army surplus anymore. It's called military core. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. I'm waiting for the Army surplus place an hour from here to change it to military core. But yeah, that's another thing. I know that he meant it as a joke. Guess what? It's true.
Oh, good Lord. Man,
I know.
When I was a kid, going to an Army surplus store was awesome.
Oh, it still is. I love going in there. But you know what? I've noticed that true Army surplus stores are very rare. The ones that you see most of are just, they carry new stuff that looks like something the Army might use. But I like the older ones where you walk in and you see so many red flags, they're all green. And for a thrifter, most people, what they would term a red flag, it's a green flag. For example, the store is a mess, you have to dig through stuff, that's a green flag. You'll find something really cool. So the old surplus stores, those are green flags for me. They're great. But there's another, Brad and I have spoken about this on our show. There's another type of rebranding that is absolutely okay. For example, the term mummy, the Egyptian kind, the Peruvian kind, the Chinese kind, the whatever kind, they're being rebranded. You cannot just call that item a mummy anymore. You have to say it's a mummified person or call them by their name. Now, sometimes you do get a name because you happen to have dug up the tomb of so-and-so. So instead of calling it the mummy of or so-and-so's mummy, you have to just refer to it as so-and-so because you want to humanize the mummy. That is what a lot of museums are doing now. That kind of rebranding is stupid. Every little kid calls it a mummy. None of them call it a mummified person. None. You still go to the museum, people are going to call it a mummy. No matter what placard you put there, they're still going to call it a mummy. So in my opinion, that is a huge fail as far as rebranding goes. I just can't.
Yeah, no, I got nothing. Well, so speaking of rebranding, right? This is one that drives me crazy as a kid who grew up being Baptist. In the Bible, Jesus talks about turning water into wine. According to Baptists, what he really meant was grape juice.
What?
Yes. That's what I heard all the time. It's not actually alcohol. He's talking about really good grape juice. I'm like, no, it was alcohol. You know how I know it was alcohol? Because fermentation is what used to help people not die back then. Beer and wine were what kept people alive back then because most of their water sources sucked.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's just one of those things.
I cannot. I'm sorry. Grape juice.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, hell, even now when we do communion, it's a little bitty wafer and it's a little bit of grape juice. Like this is not communion. You guys can say it as all you want, but
I like what Orty said about Kamala's brand, Kukor. Yeah, that's a good brand. I don't think she wants it though.
Oh, I still love how everybody's talking about how she's so much younger than Biden when she's still a freaking boomer.
Yeah, she's older than I am, and I'm pretty old. So.
Oh, shut up! You are not.
But she is older.
Yeah, she is older, but you are not old. I don't want to hear that shit. But
I
anyway.
know that it's going to be interesting to see how she gets rebranded because as we all have seen, the rebranding has begun with all of the gaslighting. Oh, she was never the border czar. That's just something the Republicans said. And I'm like, no, everybody had the receipts. There were so many receipts, it made CVS look jealous. Okay.
There were so many receipts. I wish I could have scanned them for points.
That's great.
I mean, seriously, like even Axios got burned on its own new headline. She was never actually the border czar. Well, I'm sorry, we've had to print a retraction on that because it turns out we were actually one of the first papers to call her the border czar, even though she
were wrong. They said we incorrectly labeled her that, and I'm like, no, you didn't. That was incredible. So
Jeff, we have to get a ruling from the chat on that one.
So let me see. Can Jeff rebrand probing to Alien Core? Is it the alien's core or is it the human's core? I mean, seriously.
I mean, if anything, I would have considered that more human coring, but that's
Exactly. Andrew gets me. It's more like alien finding the core. We are so going to hell.
Hey, Andrew.
Oh goodness. Now this is gonna bug me. Jeff's question is gonna bug me. I'm like, how can we rebrand this? It's gonna keep me up tonight. This is so stupid. And yet it's gonna just put, park in my head somewhere, and it's gonna drive me crazy until I figure it out.
It's gonna drive you crazy.
But yeah, there's been a lot of rebranding lately in all walks. I mean, not just business and politics, but also in, like I said,
we should probably talk about.
aesthetics.
We should probably talk about one of the longest running rebrands ever. Global cooling to global warming to climate change.
Oh, that's gotta be that's one of the top ones. And
That's like the granddaddy of not only a great but a rebranding.
And and Michael Crichton actually spoke about this at, I wanted to say it was the University of Perth, that he had a speaking engagement, and he brought that up, and he used that in the book State of Fear. And he said that there's a reason why climate change is the new term. It's because it is that nebulous. And this is when a nebulous term works to your advantage. It encompasses so many different things that can fall under it. There's no way to be wrong. And that's why, because I'm sorry, we're supposed to go through global cooling and it's 90 degrees outside. Oh, we're supposed to go through global warming and it's 50. No, we're going through climate change. It doesn't matter what it is outside. It's climate change. So that was a very successful rebrand.
Oh, speaking of one of there was actually a reason I wanted to segue into this particular rebrand, because I just saw one of the weirdest things ever. Apparently, same-sex couples are more susceptible to climate change. So apparently, even climate change is homophobic.
We covered that with Brad and I, and I'm like, how is climate doing? How? Nobody can. I just can't.
And our chat is devolving as we speak.
Yeah, Kevin, that's not just for streetwalkers. That goes for people on social media too. Man, that's all I'm going to say about that. Thank you. Not gonna lie, I actually like Kevin's rebrand, Horrorcore. I like it.
I'm scared. Kevin's raising his hand. Why is Kevin raising his hand?
I have no idea. But no, Jeff, you're not my seventh. You may be my, number two. You tied for second. It's okay. Chatcore is good. There we go. Yeah, Chat Lives Matter, Chatcore. There you go. That's one way of doing it.
Oh, okay. He was just admitting that he was devolving. Okay.
I think we all are. But yeah, so that was, for me, the whole rebranding situation. There are, like I said, there are different types. There's for different things. Like I said, politics, business, style, food. Food gets a rebrand all the time.
All the damn time.
All the time. I mean, I went into a restaurant and they had they had something on the menu, and I kept reading it and rereading and rereading. And I finally asked the waiter, this item that you have here. And he says, yes. The description makes it sound like it's a chicken fried steak. And he whispers, it is. But it didn't say that it was a chicken fried steak. I was at a high-end steakhouse in Houston. And I was like, so why not just call it chicken fried steak? And he says, well, that name is more associated with other places, not something like this place. So, you know, that's one way that food gets rebranded. And I forgot what they called it, but the description was, you know, if I do this at home, I call it a chicken fried steak. I do not understand this. But, you know, they do. They go through rebrands all the time. What we used to call, we call it a buttermilk biscuit. In some places, is called an old fashioned muffin. And I'm like, this is not a muffin. This is a biscuit.
Yeah, it's not a muffin. What the hell?
Yeah, I'm like, did y'all run out of biscuits? Oh no, this is what we call it. Oh, okay. You know, totally different name. It's not even what I would call it because it's not a muffin. But they do tend to do that. They rebrand food all the time in order to, I guess, I don't want to say that to fool the clientele, but that's essentially what they're doing, is fooling the clientele in order to get them to pay more for something that sounds really nice.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I'm still trying to wrap my head around the old-fashioned muffin. Like what? What? What?
Mallet rendered brisket braised in coca jus.
But yeah, I mean, even fast food does it all the time, though, right? Like, I hadn't eaten Taco Bell in forever because I don't really like Taco Bell much anymore. Now that I've gotten older, I prefer to make my own stuff. But my kids were going nuts for it one day, so I went in there and I was like, "Yeah, I'll get them some Taco Bell." Their entire menu is different. I know it's been over a year since I've been in there, but damn, their entire menu is different. And now, if you want in my area, if you want anything that looks like the Taco Bell we grew up in, you have to go to a place called Taco Casa. Which I swear, if I didn't know better, I would think that the original people that sold off the Taco Bell name just started another place called Taco Casa because it's almost exactly like Taco Bell was when I was a kid. It even has the same red, brown, and orange color schemes. It's weird. But the food's much better. It's also a lot more expensive, but the food is a lot better. It's like Taco Bell when Taco Bell was decent. But yeah,
well,
so,
you know,
I mean,
probably the one of the worst rebrands ever in cocktails was the daiquiri. What is served as a daiquiri now is nothing like the classic daiquiri that, you know, our parents grew up drinking. But that's what it's called. It's frozen, it's fruity, and it has absolutely almost nothing to do with the original daiquiri. So a lot of stuff gets rebranded, and not always it's successful branding, but it's awful branding because that is not a daiquiri. You know? So it just depends on the thing.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's like we talked about earlier. Almost everything gets a rebranding eventually. I mean, think about. I mean, G just showed something today that just shows the way brands evolve and tastes evolve and everything else. And it was a tweet from the Olympics from forever ago, where like Marlboro 100s were the chosen cigarette of the Olympics. Could you imagine if that happened today?
No.
But I mean, that just shows the evolution of the rebranding of cigarettes, because there was a time when even on TV, everybody was smoking. Almost all the commercials were that back then were either about laundry soap or cigarettes or booze. And then as people started supposedly understanding more about science and cigarettes became less and less helpful, they decided we needed to start getting rid of them. At this point, with as much that they've done to our food, I don't really think cigarettes are going to hurt us, because
Yeah.
they already
I'm
put all
this
the crap in our food that's trying to kill us anyway. So we might as well go back to smoking. I'm just saying.
Yeah, the cigarette wars were some of the weirdest things, because there was a lot of rebranding done prior to the war starting, and there was a lot of rebranding done after the wars. Like, for example, Joe Camel went away because the government felt that Joe Camel attracted the young people, as in kids, to smoking, because he was hip, he was cool, he was a cartoon. And I'm like, that sucker's ugly. What? No kid it would be attracted to this ugly camel. I'm sorry, it's just not happening. But that was what the most government agencies said, and so they decided to do away with Joe Camel. That was
Yeah, well, that was the
rebrand.
beginning of the end. That was the beginning of the end of cigarette mascots.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so that was
Because once
those
they took
rebrandings.
out the camel, Joe Marlboro was next. You can't have him on there anymore either, because reasons.
I'll never forget. I was watching a Perry Mason episode, and somebody's in the hospital or whatever, and the doctor walks in smoking a cigarette, and the guy's in an oxygen tent, and I'm going, "Oh my God!" Any minute now, there's going to be a big kablooey.
Where's the kaboom? There was supposed to be a
Supposed to
loud,
be an
earth-shattering kaboom.
Kaboom. That's
Oh,
another thing that got rebranded. The Looney Tunes.
Yep.
They, now when they were reissued on VHS, cassette, and DVD and everything, there's a foreword. A lot of famous actors and actresses took it upon themselves to volunteer their time to do the forewords for these, saying, these are very violent and we don't condone them and blah 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 and all that stuff. And I'm like, here's the thing: growing up, not once did it dawn on me to actually imitate what was on a cartoon.
I mean, dude, all the cartoons back then were violent. Remember Dirk Dastardly?
Yes.
Every episode tying Penelope to the train tracks. I never once thought about doing that to anybody.
No, but the fact that they were doing it now led me to believe that we had a serious problem with the way children were being raised. And that to me was a very big red flag, because there was a time you didn't have to put that. That warning was not necessary. Just like warnings on, don't drink the battery acid. That was not necessary. And yet you have that warning now.
Well, so here's one that has always astounded me, because for these warnings to be there, somebody that produces the products had to have gotten sued. So can you please explain to me why a curling iron has a warning label on it that says not for internal use?
I don't want to know. I really didn't. I never wanted to know that there was such a warning. I would have preferred going my entire life not knowing there was such a warning.
You're welcome.
Lord. But I mean, it's like the Tide Pod situation. Kids thought that it would be cool to take that challenge. And I'm like, where did we as a society go so wrong that kids did not understand the inherent dangers of swallowing soap? I don't understand. Because there was a time when mom would take that bar of soap and rub it, make sure that it got into every cranny of all of my back molars. If I said something, that's one of the reasons I don't cuss in Spanish. I did it once. I learned my lesson. And believe me, the taste, and it was so awful. It would never have dawned on me to actually willingly try to eat soap. So I need to ask, where did we as a society raising these kids go so wrong that they thought swallowing soap was an option that was safe enough to do? Because I don't ever remember being told that soap is safe in any situation. Not even Johnson and Johnson's baby shampoo. It literally tells you don't eat it.
Well, I mean, the whole thing with that is if moms and dads were still washing their mouths out with soap, they never would have thought it was a good idea anyway. I'm just saying. But, Stephen in the chat, Mandela effect, Looney Tunes or Looney Tunes? I'm still going with TOONS. I don't care what they say because it's the only one that makes sense.
Yes, Kevin's right. We were given the soap to eat only when we said bad words. And believe me, and my mom, and it wasn't liquid. It was never liquid soap. My mom knew better. It was bar soap because she needed to make sure to grind that thing in my teeth so it'll stay there. And I mean, it was very effective. And she said, you're not supposed to swallow this, right? And I knew it. I knew I was not going to swallow it. It tasted awful. I was not going to eat it. To this day, I can't eat Brussels sprouts for the same reason. It tastes like soap to me. It's gross.
My dad laughs at me all the time because I still will not eat tiny stinky cabbages. He's like, I can't believe you don't like Brussels sprouts. I'm like, I don't really like asparagus either. They don't taste right to me.
Man, all of this rebranding is getting me. Anyway.
Well, so they did bring up an interesting one. I guess one that's never really been rebranded, but has kind of fallen off over the years is the drink Tang, which was like a big thing when I was little. And I mean,
it's still a big thing in college, believe it or not. I did not believe this. I thought it died off with my generation in college, but when my youngest was in college and I helped her move in and everything, one of the moms was bringing in groceries for the girl next door, and there was a jar of, one of those plastic ones with a plastic top of Tang. And I was like, you guys still drink Tang? And one of the things that we used to do was take instant tea, 1 spoon of instant tea and 1 spoon of Tang, and add hot water to it. And we would drink that during the winter time and it tasted really good. I loved it. She does the same thing. And so, there's a new generation that's actually appreciating Tang. I was not aware of this, but yeah, they're out there.
I kind of want to go buy some.
I know. I'm not even lying. I love Tang. I grew up with that stuff because, growing up in Puerto Rico, you could not buy Tropicana from the refrigerator. You could buy orange juice concentrate. That would be fine, but it was rather expensive. So my parents would buy Tang. And that would make things a lot easier. We had orange trees and grapefruit trees and chironja and guava and mango and all sorts of fruit trees out of back. And so my mom would make fresh orange juice for us, yes. But after playing outside, no, just break out the Tang. It was great. It was awesome. We didn't do Kool-Aid very much because my mom hated the red color because it would stain everything, but we did Tang. So, yeah, now I want Tang. Damn it.
I don't have any either. That's all right. I'll go to my standby. I've got some Devil's Cut in the liquor cabinet. I'll just drink some of that in a minute.
I don't know how you went from Tang to Devil's Cut, but I like it. I'm digging the connection.
Well, I was just thinking about, I don't really have anything in the house with flavor to drink right now other than 2 forms of whiskey and some rum. So I have scotch. I have I have a little bit of 12-year Macallan. I have about a half a bottle of Jack Daniel's Devil's Cut, and I still have about half a bottle of decent rum. But since I don't really have anything to mix it with, see, that's why Tang would be nice. Tang and rum goes well together. If you haven't tried that yet, you probably should.
I might enjoy that. It's Tang. It's Tang. I even use Tang powder when I bake. I use it on yellow when I'm doing a cake, and I'll sprinkle like a teaspoon in there, and it kicks it up a notch. My mom thinks I'm crazy. Because
I know. She doesn't think you're crazy. Because she's caught on, doesn't it? Oh, wait,
yeah,
sorry.
this is true. Anyway, well, we're almost at the top of the hour if you want to cut out early.
Well, we're not
unless
really.
You have other stuff.
I was going to say, we're not really going to cut out early because it's going to take this long to tell everybody all the shit we do.
Well, mostly you. I don't do that much.
Whatever.
What? I don't.
Uh-huh.
Two of my shows are once a month, and one of those two, I just bring a drink and I'm quiet most of the time. So there.
You still do 4 podcasts now.
Whatever. All right. Well, you go first because you have more than I do.
I don't want to, but anyway. All right. So I took the day off, so we didn't do a Rick Robinson show today. I'll be back tomorrow night pushing buttons for Talk Murder to Me. They're going to be doing a deep dive in Nature versus Nurture. That'll be with Bumpstock, Barbie, and Ken. Also, Zelda Gabriel will be a guest panelist on that one. I'll be back Sunday night doing America Off the Rails, 10 p.m. Eastern. Talk Murder to Me is 9 p.m. Eastern. I don't think I said that. Monday through Friday next week, back around doing the Rick Robinson show, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern. And on Wednesday night, I do whatever with Stacy, and then the Conservative Curmudgeon Radio Show. Looks like Fubar is not going to be back this week. She's got some plans, so I'm not sure what we're doing with that hour yet, but we'll figure it out. Then Rick and Orty at 10 p.m. Eastern. Then I think Jen's back from vacation, so we should be back with Jen and Rick 10 p.m. Eastern next week. And I'll be back around Friday doing this with you again. When I'm not doing all that, you can find me as a contributor on twitchy.com, misfitspolitics.com, and theloftusparty.com. I'm also the executive producer of the Loftus Party podcast. And you can follow along with me on social media in most places at RowdyRick73. The only one that's different is Insta because I got locked out of that account. It's at RowdyRick1973. All right. So where can folks find you?
You can find me at Aggie Beacon and at Aggie the Barkeep. Those are over on X. You can find me Tuesday nights, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, doing the Cocktail Lounge with the ever suave Brad Slager. Friday nights, 8:30 p.m. Eastern as well, doing He Said, She Said with our awesome producer, you. The last Wednesday of every month at 8 p.m. Eastern, the guys get together to do Toxic Masculinity, and I bring the drinks for the evening, and we host a bar babe.
Wednesday too.
Yeah, that one's coming up. That one's coming up next week.
Yep.
And Jeff and I are now doing a book podcast called Spirited Books, where we find quirky, out of the ordinary books to review. And that is on the first Monday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern as well. First Monday of every month. So tune in for that one. Our next installment should be not this Monday, but the Monday following. And that's it for me.
Nice.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. Have a great evening tonight.
You guys enjoy the rest of your Friday night, and I don't know, go find something fun to do. It's Friday.
Go paint a rock.
It's better than kicking rocks, I guess.
Yeah.
Say goodnight, Gracie.